In this lecture, we'll have a look on how to use the Git version control system to handle changes on your Postman collections. And let's just take a minute to understand what exactly is the problem that we are trying to solve. And more or less, you have a Postman collection and you want to work with others on this collection. And you could export the file and send it by email or by instant messaging or any other way around to one or more people. And it works kind of good if it's only going in this direction, that you are just sending some collection, some information to others, and others do not need to make any changes. Now, as soon as others want to make some changes to the collections that maybe you have created initially, things tend to get a bit complicated. You will have to do this managing of collections. So which is the version that's up to date, or what if I have some changes in one collection and I don't have any in the other? So we'll have a lot of files to manage in this case. And this is really not optimal. So one way to solve this problem is to use Git in order to have like a single point of truth. Now, I would like to mention in advance that some Git skills are needed in order to follow along with this lecture and to do it this way. So if you are not using Git anyway, this option may not be the best one for you. But if you are using Git and you know exactly what Git is and how it works, then keep watching, because this can be a solution in your case. Now, let's have a look at a typical workflow. Now, you have a collection and you make a change in that collection, or you just want to share it. So what you will do, will export it as a file and you will add it to a Git repository. You will commit it and push your change. Now, the next user that wants to use the latest version of the collection will first have to pull all the changes from the Git repository and will need to import the latest file. And in case he or she wants to make a change, can make this change on the collection, will have to export the file again, commit it, and push it. And as you can see, there are a couple of steps involved here. Now, let's have a look at what are the pros and cons to this option of using Git this way. Now, first of all, it is free. You can do it without paying anything. You do not need a Postman Pro or enterprise account in order to do that. So free is free. Additionally, what Git offers you out of the box is that you will have a history of changes. So everything that has changed in the collection will be visible, and you will be able to revert to an earlier version if you need to. One additional advantage would be if you're interested in more privacy regarding your data. All the data can be stored locally or on servers that you can control, so you do not need to share any information with Postman. And because Git is a version control system, you can also have access to things like code reviews. And generally, this solution tends to work well if there are only a few users involved and when the changes to the collections are not so often. Now, let's take a moment to look at the cons. So what does not work, or which cases are not so good? Now, you have this manual process each time you want to make a change. And everybody working on these collections need to know the exact workflow, what to do, when to do it, so that no information gets lost or something like that. And you have this importing, exporting overhead. You are never sure if what you have is the latest version of the collection. So whenever you want to make a change, you will have to pull data from Git, then manually import the file, and then you will not exactly know if something really has changed or not. You will have to look into Git to see what are there any changes to this collection and so on. And previously I mentioned that code reviews are possible, but I want to mention that reviewing changes in JSON files is not always the most optimal solution, or it's not always that easy to read. And because it is Git, conflicts can occur, and because it's a JSON file, which is a format that's been exported from Postman, merges and conflicts, they can be a bit hard to solve. So in conclusion, I would say that use this option if you already know Git and if you're working in a small team where not a lot of changes are being made, or more or less only one person is making a lot of changes and the other ones are only from time to time making smaller changes. And needless to say, even if you're working alone, it might be advisable to save your work somewhere outside of your computer, especially if you're not logged in your Postman account and have everything backed on the Postman servers, so that you have a version for yourself and you never know, you will never lose your data. I will end this by saying that it is definitely worth trying in the beginning to see if this fits your needs, because it is free, and as I said, if you already use Git, it's quite easy to try and to see how it works in your case.